we heal as a team, we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen, believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. And I know if I'm going to have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. There's 6 inches in front of your face. Now, I can't make you do it. You got to look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now, I think you're going to see a guy who will go that inch with you. You're going to see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're going to do the same for him. That's a team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals.
Ideas are bulletproof.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. It is December 23rd, 2011. And this is a live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com. And without wasting too much time, because my guest tonight, his cell phone battery is going to die out, and I only have him for a few segments. I want to get right into it. I have a bunch of stuff planned for today's show. Going to try to keep it a little light since we're going into the holiday, and we do need to remember why we fight, spending some quality time with our family and such. So I'm not going to try to get you all riled up and upset right before, you know, some QT with your family, especially since this might be, you know, with all the creepy stuff that's going on with the police state. This could be, who knows, some people's last Christmases with their family, you know, maybe not in a camp or something. So I'm going to try to keep it light. Anyway, I want to get into the local Ron Paul scene. And my guest tonight has been on the show a few times. I want to welcome back Hector Roos. He's a local Ron Paul, I don't want to say just campaigner because he's or supporter. He's more of an organizer. And he gets things done. And, you know, when I got to say, as long as I've known Hector, whenever he says he's going to do something, he follows through with it. So I wanted to bring Hector on tonight just to give the listeners an idea of what's going on with Ron Paul's local victories here around the Sunshine State. So, Hector, welcome back to the show, my friend.
Thanks, Popeye. Good to be back.
So what's the deal with all the Ron Paul stuff going on locally in South Florida and across Florida in general? How's he doing, and what does it look like?
Well, you know, we got to say to ourselves, Florida is one of those states that, even though it's an early primary state, no one's really paying much attention to it. The only campaign that's really spending any money here is Romney's, and even then, that's not that much. But you want one who has the energy? It's Ron Paul. He still has the volunteers that go out and win straw polls for him. In fact, that's what we won. We won one last week in Miami, and up North Florida too. Some volunteers even drove all the way up from Miami to win one for Ron Paul too. So we have a lot of energy, and we're organizing. Even if the campaign isn't doing too much here in Florida, we're still motivated and we're still acting, and we want to be a presence here that's known and remembered by the establishment.
From what you see now, you were involved in this, for a while. This isn't just something you started maybe a year or two ago. What do you see? Do you see more people getting involved as opposed to years ago?
Well, definitely. We have a lot more people, and in a lot more places around the state that are definitely organized. Here in Miami, in Broward County, Palm Beach, there's definitely a presence everywhere, and really at every corner of the state. I mean, I could just name it off. Naples, Clearwater, Tampa, Pensacola, Orlando. Jacksonville. You've got serious presence there with, and every place I just mentioned has at least 20 volunteers, and some places have over 100. So it gets, when you look at it, some of them are even more than that. Look at it. You have thousands, or maybe even thousands of potential volunteers that, as soon as Ron Paul wins Iowa, they're going to get energized and out there. I mean, people are driving just to win straw polls. Last night I was at a mixer, or a holiday mixer for Ron Paul in Miami, and we had more than 50 people show up, and with 4 days' notice. People are coming out, and they're and this week there's a lot of excitement because Ron Paul is doing well in Iowa. Remember, that's the key. The Ron Paul campaign's organized a call for home program that you can get in and on their automated dialer and call voters in Iowa and New Hampshire. And because of all these efforts, Ron Paul has been able to outpace every other campaign in voter outreach. Every other campaign, hands down, everyone recognizes he has the best campaign organization in Iowa. And that means a lot for us here, because when he wins there, we get the props here.
You think he's going to? I think he'll win Iowa unless they cheat. I'm almost convinced that he's going to win Iowa, and they're going to turn around and say, "Oh, hackers hacked the." They hacked it, and because they made this big deal of Anonymous attacking the Iowa straw poll. They'll either do that or they'll try to minimize it and say Iowa doesn't matter. And then when he wins New Hampshire, they'll say the same thing. New Hampshire doesn't matter. And you know what I mean? He could win the nomination and the presidency, and they'll come up and say it doesn't matter. It's inconsequential. It's the same talking point memo, basically, against Dr. Paul. And I don't think he's a miracle worker or anything, but out of everybody up there, if you're going to try to change things, why not put him in? I mean, you've given everybody else a shot. You know what I mean? You've given all the other idiots a shot. Why not try him? He's a breath of fresh air. And that's what a lot of these voters see. At least that's what I think. And that's what that's my take on it from what I've observed myself. Hector, a lot of people want to know where they can get in touch with you and, how about all over Florida. In fact, one of the listeners in the chat room, he's from Clearwater. So he's interested in getting you up around the area, maybe to, educate, maybe hook up with him, whatever, you know what I mean? Just like you and I talked about you going down and giving that class. I don't know if it ever panned out or not to the Occupy idiots, because I know when they hear Ron Paul's name, Federal Jack, or they hear InfoWars, they shut off immediately.
You gotta understand that everyone's looking for solutions to the problems that we all see around us. The Occupy Miami people, a lot of great contacts came out from Occupy Miami, and a lot of them helped out with these events that we've been hosting and all of our campaign activities. In fact, we have two that we met because of Occupy Miami that are on our organizational board down here. And Clearwater, for the guy who's in Clearwater, you just type in Tampa or Clearwater for Ron Paul, or look up the name Alex Snicker, because he is definitely the guy who's in Clearwater to organize things. He runs a phone bank. You can look it up. If you want, you can just directly email me at hectorroos@gmail.com, and I can send you all the information there too. But
go ahead and repeat your email one more time, just in case
sure,
they didn't hear it.
Hector Roos at gmail.com. My last name is spelled R-O-O-S. It's really exciting what's going on. I mean, people are really interested. You're hearing about people being engaged in politics for the first time ever. I mean, it's incredible. And a lot of people who were working on the 08 campaign are still around. I'm proof of that.
Yeah, well, that's why I said you're not just some, Johnny come lately. Hector, I'm going to cut you off there because the break's coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be back in 3 minutes. More with my guest, Hector Roos.
Kill your own citizens to advance your ways. All my real patriots stand up and say 9/11 was an inside job.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with the second segment of tonight's episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. And Hector's cell phone is going to die soon. So this is the last segment. He's going to be hanging out with us. So there's a few things he wanted to get into, and I'm going to give him the floor. But Hector, I have a quick question. I myself recently moved. How would I go about, changing my address with them and everything before the election and getting it done, somewhat fast?
Well, if you can definitely ask for a ballot in mail, an absentee ballot. You just move from one county to another, but they can still send it anywhere. I have a buddy who's a Ron Paul supporter who's actually going to be in Russia for the election, but he asked for an absentee ballot to be sent all the way to him in Russia. Actually, he's probably got the ballot already in his hands because it got sent out December 16th. But anybody can use the service. If you know someone who is on the fence about Ron Paul, who doesn't know if they want to participate in the election, they never vote, voting by mail is the easiest thing you can do. It's in the comfort of your own home. You just slap a stamp on it, and it goes out, and that's it. Like I said, and make sure you're registered to be Republican. It doesn't matter if you even get a ballot in the mail. You have to be registered Republican to vote in Florida. And if you're in other states, like New York, I think has a closed primary too, that you got to be wary of that. You got to be a Republican. Some states like New Hampshire and Iowa, they're open. Anybody can just change the registration that night and vote, and then change it back. So if you're feeling like you hate the Republican Party, just do yourself a favor and do us a favor and your entire country a favor. Change the registration just for a little bit. Vote for Ron Paul and switch it back. The deadline to do that in Florida is January 3rd, and you can just Google your local county elections department, and you can do it from there. And
is there anything else that you wanted to get out in before I let you go? Any pertinent information or any contact? Again, give out your contact info and everything else, so in case anybody wants to get in touch with you. Because some people want to help, but they're not sure. They maybe they've gotten in touch with somebody locally by them, but that person's kind of hasn't gotten back in touch with them or whatever. So if there's any way that they can contact you to help maybe facilitate getting them involved one way or another, go ahead and give out all your contact stuff again.
Yeah, my email is Hector Roos, ROOS @gmail.com. You can send me an email. I will help you out as best I can. There's no reason why you have to wait on other people to tell you what to do in order to help Ron Paul. You can first of all tell your friends and neighbors about Ron Paul. There's some great services online that you can get a piece of mail, literature in their hands through the mail. You have that's like the RonPaulBrochure.com. You have wildcards.com. That's also presenting that they're doing a free mailer if you want to send a very personal message to voters. And you can these are all things that are free for you. You can go get a list of voters that live near you at RonPaulFlorida.com. I mean, these are services that are good for you. I'd be happy, Popeye, to actually put this all together in a list and submit it to for Federal Jack.
That's cool. Yeah, go ahead and email it to me. Put it up like a little list, put it together and email it to me, and I'll throw it up on federaljack.com in the next couple of days so people can go there and check it out.
Definitely. Listen, politics is transforming in this country. You have things like the super PACs. You have things that the Internet's really changed the rules of the game. You can reach out to people like never before. We thought 08 was crazy. What's coming now is politics 3.0, because you have a way that you can order material, literature for people, for friends, family, targeted straight to them. You can completely personalize it. You can put your picture on it. You can put all this stuff, and it works. and you can really get a response back because you can just call them up and say, did you get my mail? Did you get something in the mail from me? It's all about, politics at the end of the day is all about being, making that personal contact, that personal touch. And no one is more empowered now than the individual to make a difference. And so if you really believe that Ron Paul can actually win the election, which I believe I can, I mean, I'm dedicating myself full time. I've for the last 2 weeks, and I'm going on straight through the rest of January. I believe he can win. And if you believe he can win, then you got to also believe that you can make an impact. I believe I can make an impact. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm actually talking on this program, and that's why you're listening. I believe that you are the one that you're the person that ultimately is the game changer in this equation. The person who the establishment is terrified that people are actually paying attention because they can get away with anything when nothing's being said, nothing's being examined. I mean, I started a PAC of my own. At the same day, I got a call from the establishment media asking me who I am, what are my intentions, how much money am I going to raise. I'm like, I really don't know how much impact I'm going to have at the end of the day. But I'm going to say something that I said something that's really scared them because I got the press there, and I'm telling you, it's a serious business when you say I want to change things, and you better be serious about it because if you don't, then people are seriously going to change your life whether you like it or not. And we all know about the NDAA, we all know about the internet controls that are coming. It's something that we need to be involved in. Think about. It's not just this is not just a message to people who like drugs or who like smoking marijuana from time to time, or just don't like laws or the hassle of police or just the hassle of what our government's doing. Literally, we have a chance to make our government our own again. It's actually accepting responsibility and crafting something that we all can appreciate. It's about being neighborly again. It's about reaching out and saying Merry Christmas to people and being friendly. This again, the internet's supposed to be a medium of communication that's going to bring us together. And through this program,
and that's why they're trying to shut it down, brother. That's why they want to shut it down because
that's right.
10 years ago, you couldn't have done the stuff that we can do today. And they're scared because you can have real community organizing, not this fake crap, and local people can get their voice heard by the world. And they don't like that. They don't want some poor kid, out in the middle of Detroit or wherever, or even out in the middle of Africa somewhere, getting any reality or truth out.
That's right.
They don't want that. So I think at the end of the day, that should be our ultimate goal, to do exactly what they don't want.
Right. And Popeye, you have a great program here. You have a voice and people listen to you. But that's the same as everyone else who's listening. They have a voice of their own, and they have a sphere of influence. They have a circle of friends and family that will listen to them if they just speak up. They have neighbors that may not even know they're Ron Paul supporters, or may not know what positions they have on certain policies. May not even know that government is going to pass a law that's going to absolutely legalize the martial law. We have serious issues in this country, and the only way that people are going to hear about it is definitely not through the mainstream media, but through word of mouth. And it's become so much more effective and so much even less costly to do it. So everyone, if you want, everyone get a YouTube channel, start saying something, get a blog, start putting something out. The idea is just to start thinking differently, that you are not powerless. It's the mainstream media might convince you that they are that they have all the power, that they have the keys to the kingdom. They are just gatekeepers. You're the actual owner of the kingdom. You could take control, and that's what this is about. This is about a human empowerment. This is about a cultural revolution and a human revolution. So I want to encourage you all, step out and do something. And give out my email one more time if you want to get involved and want more information. HectorRoos@gmail.com. HectorRoos@gmail.com. Really, thank you, everybody. Popeye. This is a great program, and I want your listeners to know that they have something to add that they're not insignificant. They are more powerful than they understand.
I agree,
And,
Hector. Thank you for coming on, brother. We're going to break, so you're going to get cut off. Hang in there. I'll say goodbye to you off air. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. Hector wanted me to tell you, I spoke to him off air, and I said goodbye to him during the break, and Hector wanted me to pass on a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody, or Happy Festivus, or Hanukkah, or Kwanzaa, or whatever holiday you celebrate. And during the break, I was joined by my good friend, Jules, who you guys have heard her on the radio here before on many different shows, and she kind of, she's pretty much one of the permanent co-hosts over at WTF on Mondays. And for those of you that don't know, Jules just decided to put her feet in the deep end of radio, and since then she is just starting to take the controls, and she hijacks people's show. So she'll probably take over my show at some point tonight. And how are you today, Jules?
I'm great. How about you, Popeye?
I'm doing good. Are you in a good mood and getting ready for the holidays?
Yes, I'm starting to warm into the holidays, actually. I haven't been feeling very festive, but the fact that tomorrow's Christmas Eve, I guess I have to get a little bit excited.
I kind of like Christmas Eve better than I like Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Because things close early. It's kind of quiet by about 9, 10 o'clock at night. You know, it's Christmas Day by 8, 9 o'clock at night. It's over.
Yeah.
The magic kind of starts the night before, but I have to be honest. I mean, since I'm older, my mom died when I was like 27. So I would say that, and I'm not being all mopey, but the magic of Christmas kind of died with her for me, because she was the one that made it fun. She would put up all these, my mom went out of control with Christmas. It was like Santa Claus came into my house and threw up all over the place. Okay. But that's what made, Christmas fun. That's what made it cool. We didn't buy into it was Jesus' birthday thing. We kind of just did it it was a way for everybody in my family to come together, that got along or whatever at that present moment, throughout the years. For, like 20 some odd years, everybody that was getting along, at the holidays, and sometimes even if people weren't getting along, they always got together. My mom had this magic way of, making it a wonderful place where even if you were mad at somebody or whatever, for a couple hours you could sit down, have some good food, have some drink, and just be around other people and, enjoy yourself. And, after she died, that kind of magic went away. And then, I live in South Florida, so it was like 85 degrees here today. I was sweating my ass off today while I was doing work around the apartment. So, it's kind of weird for us. My next door neighbor was walking by. She's a chick from Minnesota, and she was, she's actually she's like, I hate snow, so this is a nice break. I said, but, isn't it kind of weird that, growing up you had Christmas trees, and down here you really don't have Christmas lights. I mean, everybody has Christmas trees, and they might put some icicle lights and stuff up, but it's different. You know what I mean? It's different if it's not cold and there's not snow on the ground. You live up north, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we have no snow, though. They don't think we're going to get any. And maybe a little bit tomorrow, but we've had nothing, knock on wood, considerable at all. It's cold. It's 23 right now, but no precipitation. But I know what you mean. I mean, Christmas is definitely not Christmas without snow. And this year will be an oddity for us if we don't get any.
Yeah, but you don't also want to go out and play in the snow because it could be, glowing dark snow.
Yeah. It probably is glow-in-the-dark snow.
Doug Owen made a good point on his show on Blacklisted News over on Oracle the other night. And something that not many people realize, the term "don't eat yellow snow" originally came from Chernobyl. It didn't come from pissing in the snow.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes. It kind of got taken over by pissing in the snow. But "don't eat yellow snow" was because of don't eat the radioactive fallout in the snow after Chernobyl. So if it snows or rains, try to stay out of the precipitation, ladies and gentlemen, because it's not going to be too good, in the next, I would say, couple months at the very least.
Oh, a couple months. It's going to be like that at least for probably 10 or 20 years.
Just love we should all get radioactive raincoats. for Christmas?
Yeah, you should make sure you don't get wet. You know, they're burning all of that debris from the tsunami through 2014. So, you know, as they started burning it.
Oh, that's nice. That puts particulate matter into the clouds.
Exactly. And Arnie Gunnarsson had even pointed out it'll be like a whole second Fukushima happening all over again because all that stuff had settled.
You know, the debris is starting to wash up on the western coast already, right?
Yes. Yes, it is.
And these idiots are all running out there and grabbing it and taking photos with themselves with these buoys and stuff. First of all, you should be ashamed of yourselves for like giving thumbs up and taking photographs and being all festive in the photos and, you know, trying to get on the news and stuff with it. Because first of all, there's two things wrong with that. One, those things, there were shoes and stuff that washed up. Those represent lives that were lost. Those shoes, some of them probably came off bodies that are still floating around out there or that are been eaten by whatever's out there.
Yeah, and they'll probably find body parts.
It's very disrespectful, number one, to act like a treasure hunter to keep stuff like that. And, you know, the universe has a way of evening things out. So, and number two, how radioactive do you think all that crap is? Duh.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
I wouldn't be just running around grabbing that stuff. You know, when you see the officials come over in Tyvek suits with Geiger counters to come collect it from you, there's a reason for that, idiots.
Right. Well, I saw an article posted on Rad Chick's page the other day in regards to these cruises that they're giving. And it was a good amount of money to take this cruise, you know, like $4,000 or $5,000, but they're going right up to the debris island and kind of, you know, surfing around. And there are people swimming in the water. I'm like, are you people crazy? But, you know, one thing that we've done here in regards to Fukushima is Rad Chick, who is also, her real name is Christina Consolo. She's been following Fukushima from the very beginning, just as, you know, you guys all know that I was kind of obsessed with it for quite a while. And she and I put our heads together, and one of the things we decided to do was to create a website. So we bought a domain called FukushimaFacts.com. She's got a great feed on Facebook. She's Rad Chick on Facebook. You'll see stuff that I post all the time from her on our Facebook page. So like her page, but I'm pulling her feed into the website. We have, she's doing all kinds of videos up on YouTube about mitigation and what, you know, signs to look for in nature, you know, just with like the pine trees and stuff and the mutated animals and all kinds of weird things happening. So we've pulled all that into the website. We have live radiation forecasts she started doing for Orion. So we post that on Orion's homepage, on the Fukushima Facts on Facebook. And she does them out, you know, anywhere from 48 to 72 hours based on the jet stream.
You know, it's unbelievable that they act like it just, you know, it's like the oil spill, Jules. Oh, it just went away. It's all good.
Right, right. Well, I mean, you can't see it or smell it
just snap your fingers and look. Radiation gone.
Yeah. So they came out a couple days ago and told us that they were in cold shutdown. Now, anyone who knows anything about what's going on over there knows that that's just a total crock. I mean, we have 3 complete meltdowns in China syndrome right now, heading toward the water table to go hydrovolcanic. So to say that we are in cold shutdown is absolute absurdity. But people just ate it up. And Christina was counting the number of mainstream publications that were publishing the same story. And I mean, I remember she was up to 26 at one point, and it was crazy. And everybody's just reading it going, yep, yep. And so, you know, when we started talking about the lack of understanding even what Fukushima is, you know, people, you'll mention it to them in public and they'll say, Fuka what? So we really were thinking that we should get some sort of campaign together, even if it's just an N95 mask. You know, Darren from the front came up with this where he was saying he'll take his N95 and with a Sharpie write Fukushima across the front and then go out and hand out some flyers, you know, out in public. But, you know, people would come up to you and ask you what was Fukushima, and it might be able to open the door to a conversation. So I've been working on some flyers. If anybody's interested, you know, it's something that...
Where can they download them?
Eventually on FukushimaFacts.com. I'm going to post everything up there. So I'll probably have like a download or a flyer section that you can go to.
Don't pay attention to the fact that, you know, infant mortality rate, you know, jumped right after. Didn't they just come out, what was it, 14,000 deaths in 14 weeks?
Yep. And we do have CDC stats up there.
So that's an average of 1,000 deaths a week. That's nice. But that's not a problem. That's not an epidemic. No. That's not an epidemic. That's more than 100 people a day, but that's not a problem. Jesus. Sick bastards. I'll tell you. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be right back. Who knows where Jules and I will go. So what can we do, ladies and gentlemen? You often hear us talk about things, like the NDAA bill or the Obama admin saying that they're not going to veto it now, and they want indefinite detention and assassination of American citizens, or the information that our own Joe Joseph was able to bring forth and bring to light and get out there in the spotlight this week. Big kudos to Joe and Mrs. Joe for the work they did. And they're talking about setting up the Blue Force tracking system here in the country. That's a battlefield tracking system, in case people don't know what it is. First used in Iraq and Afghanistan. I suggest you go look up a game. You can look up video shots from it on YouTube. Full Spectrum Warrior will give you an idea of what Blue Force, Red Force is. So it shows it in the game, and you kind of use it a little bit. So anyway, I want to get into solutions. What can we do when you have all this horrible news? Well, the first thing we need to do is, the only way they're getting away with this crap is because people are so the way they got away with it for so long was because people were uninformed. And now that people are getting informed, they're scared. And they're rushing and they're doing all this stuff. And they're showing their hand because they are scared of the mass awakening that's coming and what's going to happen. Because the more and more people that wake up, can you imagine if like 30% of the country, Jules, woke up?
That would be great, wouldn't it?
I mean, they wouldn't be able to get away with this at all.
Nope.
They can't win in a knockout, drag-out fight with the American people. And if everybody realized what was going on and the scope of things, and it doesn't matter, you don't have to buy into every little end of it, every little detail to understand that the basic premise of what most of these people, researchers and stuff have been saying for years. I'm not talking about just Alex Jones. I'm talking guys going back 30, 40 years ago. What's his name? Edward Griffin, G. Edward Griffin. People like him, Anthony Hilder. All these researchers that were, for years, Gary Allen, when he wrote None Dare Call It Conspiracy, 40 some odd years ago, telling people that this was what they wanted to do, and, everybody kind of blew it off. Well, you can't deny it now. I mean, when you look around you, you see it happening. So I think, I know one of the ways that we can combat this is to wake more people up. Now, how do we do that? How do you wake people up? Well, Popeye, nobody wants to listen to me and my family. Well, I've talked about that, and sometimes it's good to have someone that's not emotionally attached to things, maybe talk to the people in your family, because they won't be judging the information based on personal judgments or personal problems that they have with, somebody who, if like you go to your mom and you say, Mom, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. Well, she's your mom. She might be judging it. If it depends on the kind of relationship that you have with your mother and everything else. But a lot of people that have problems with their family waking them up, a lot of times, I would say about half the time it's because the family member, whoever it is judging them based on their personal stuff. A lot of other times it's people don't want to admit to that kind of stuff. You have to bring it to them in a way that they understand that it already affects them. There is no hiding from it in the closet because it's already affecting them. Once you show them that they're already affected, most people don't want to take it. Now, you're not going to get everybody. You're not going to be some saint and wake everybody and their mother up. But the way I would do it is try things like making flyers, passing them out with websites, links to Federal Jack, Orion Talk Radio, any other websites that you guys like, whatever it may be, whoever it may be. If it's Anti-Tyranny News, I think there's Uncover the News, whatever else is out there. Whatever website that, you want to, or YouTube channel, whoever. You want to support, like Rob over at Pigmine 3, put one of my one YouTube channels up there, one of the two full-length ones I have. put up whoever else's, Lone Lantern Society, which is Gary over at RTR. Whoever else, I mean, there's so many off the top of my head. I could go on and on and on. The point is, put a pamphlet together, or honestly, you really want to make change, okay? Not only do you have to sit down and like talk to the people around you and your circle and your neighbors and stuff like that, or try to at least, or your family. But if you really want to make change, make a YouTube channel. It's not that hard. It's real simple. Download, look on the internet, spend a couple hours outfitting yourself. You can outfit most of the stuff you'll need for free. And if you have an old external hard drive or something, or if you want to you can get them pretty cheap now on like Newegg. I think it's NEW or NEWEGG.com or whatever. They're pretty cheap, and they're not. I don't get any support from them, but that's where I buy a lot of my electronic equipment for the studio and stuff when I need stuff. So, and they're pretty cheap. There's a couple other places or whatever, but the point is, you can spend like $100, okay, and you can outfit what you need. Most of the programs you need to run things are free. You can go to download.com, which is run off of CNET.com, and there's a lot of free downloads, freeware and stuff out there. Make a difference. Put a video together. Do a screening at your house. Invite like 15, 20 people over. Get a movie. If you don't have to buy one of Alex Jones's movies, go out and buy. If you've looked into the Oklahoma City bombing, if you've seen the new one, A Noble Lie. If it knocks your socks off, get that. Or if one of Gary Franchi's movies, like Camp FEMA or Camp FEMA 2 or something. There's a wide variety of documentaries out there because there's just so much information. So get one or two. You'll be helping them out, the filmmaker, and then you can always copy the movie and distribute it, make multiple copies and burn it, give it to people. But hold screenings. Have your family over. Have your friends over. It's the holidays. It's the perfect time. People are going to be stopping by your house, have some drinks, some food, and sit down and then engage them in conversation at the table. Force them to look at the reality of things. If they say, I want to watch Dancing with the Stars, no. You tell them no. You tell them that they just, pretty much shit-canned the Bill of Rights and the Constitution the other day. And just because the president hasn't signed it yet doesn't mean he's not going to. There's not going to be some, end of the minute, right at the end of the line, save from Obozo. Look at all the difference one person could do. Orion Talk Radio, this network, was started by one guy. One man who was a radio host on a different network and still is. And he started this entire network by himself. Runs everything. Everything. All the behind the scenes, everything, by himself. So on point is it that the hosts, it's pretty idiot-proof for us to run things here and do things. One man. He's not a bazillionaire. Jimmy X is one guy, and he can do it. That should give you some motivation, ladies and gentlemen. He's an average blue-collar worker. Jimmy's an average guy. He's not Superman. He doesn't have an ego, and look what he can do. There's a video of this kid with no arms and no legs on the internet. He's a motivational speaker. Basically he says, don't say you can't do anything, you can't make a difference or whatever. Look at me. This kid runs around, or I shouldn't say runs, he hops around or whatever, plays soccer, does all this other stuff. He's into a couple other sports and stuff. I mean, it's incredible. I don't remember the name of the video or whatever. You could just look it up, like armless and legless motivational speaker or something. I'm sure you'll find the video. It's got like a bazillion hits. But if that kid can do that, then think about the possibilities of what you can do. Open your mind. That's the first place where change happens. A lot of times, like if you go to pick up a chick, you go to talk to her, and if you don't have confidence, they can feel that. Okay, women, Jules will tell you, women can feel if a guy doesn't have confidence, and girls don't like that. Well, if you're not exuding that confidence when you're trying to speak to people and trying to talk to people, they're not going to listen to what you have to say. They're going to pick up on that and sense it. You know, they're going to pick. They might pick it up as maybe you're not genuine when you are, but you're not throwing off that you have any confidence, so people don't know how to take the information that's coming forth. So change has to start with you as an individual first, and then it spreads outward. Don't be afraid to face your own problems or, you know, take personal accountability. I did an entire show on personal accountability. Don't be afraid to look at your demons and face them. I did it. It's a very harrowing experience. It's very tough to do. But if you do it, if you stand up and you face your demons, you know, you face your fears, you can overcome them, and you will realize that it was more in your head than anything else. Don't put your brain into a mind prison, into a box where you don't allow yourself to do things. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, everybody that hears this broadcast, listening live, hears in the archives, on YouTube, you are all powerful and capable of anything that you put your mind to. And that's not just something that your parents tell you when you're a child. It is the truth. We are all capable of anything that we put our minds to. You have to unlock our mind from the little prison that we put it in, the little box. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a few minutes. Stay tuned for hour number 2. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 of this December 23rd, 2011 edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com. And I'm hanging out with my good friend, and I can now call her a fellow host because Jules is a host on our Monday show, WTF. And Jules has been hanging out with me. We talked Fukushima a little bit. We talked some solutions. We're going to get into a few other things. But, Jules, I want to ask you a question. As a mom, do you see a big difference with how Christmas has been transformed from when you were a little kid to what it is now, and how it's, you know, it's more commercialized? And I know that, you know, the whole giving gifts thing and everything that goes back, and there's all different traditions that are melded into one to create the holiday that we know as Christmas today. Like the Christmas tree itself is actually a pagan symbol. But I'm talking about within the past like 30 years, have you noticed this massive commercialization of it?
Yeah, you know, I mean, growing up in the 70s, Christmas was still commercialized. You know, they advertised to children.
Yeah, well, it's since like the 50s, I would say it's like been pretty heavily commercialized. But I mean, like the ramping up of, you know, every year they start earlier and earlier pushing it in your face at the stores. You know, it'll be, you know, October, and they already have the, you know, the Christmas, you know, decorations going up and Santa suits, and, you know, every 10 minutes there's a sale on something. Have you noticed that there's a difference? Like I noticed that there's and I guess not only the commercialization, but like people are losing that spirit that once really meant something. Where on like Christmas, you know, that magic, that quote unquote Christmas magic that you know people talk about. People are starting to lose that what do they call it? Goodwill towards man. You know what I mean? Like there's this. It's everybody's robotic now. 30 years ago, there was no Black Friday type crap.
What I find interesting is that we are almost starting to see a parallel, I think, at least in the mindset of the 70s, that's beginning again. I mean, in the 70s, we had no money. Do you remember? I mean, you were young then. But in the 70s, everybody was poor. In the 70s, yeah. Yeah. And so you couldn't have everything that you wanted, and you made do with what you had. And being brought up that way, and you're absolutely right. I mean, now it's just we are an instant gratification society. And so everything that you see that you want, you actually think that you need. And children, I mean, the last 2 generations of kids have been brought up that way. You know, my friends that had kids right out of high school, and they're already having kids. I mean, those kids don't know how to do without. But now that we've had this major economic downturn, you know, this year I think is probably the first year that everybody realized they didn't have extra money. Even if they put it on credit cards, even if they did all their old tricks, they really don't have extra money. So one of the things that, you know, when I first became a mother, of course, you get all excited about Christmas, and Christmas has a whole new meaning, but you get caught up in that commercialized, you know, you want to get them everything, and you can't do that. And especially now, I'm not working now, so I am paying attention to what we're spending, and I really didn't buy much of anything for Christmas this year for anybody. Because, I mean, really, in the beginning, it was in protest, but I really don't have the cash either.
I say if you want to give a gift this Christmas, give the gift of knowledge. Buy somebody a book.
There you go.
You know, buy them a book about something. Go buy Judith's book, Me and Lee, and give it to him for Christmas. Or Ed Haslam's book, Dr. Mary's Monkey, or Robert Wilcox's book, Target Patent. I mean, there's so many more out there. You could, you know, give them that. They look at you, what's this? This isn't a video game? No, it's not a video game, idiot. No, go do what they did, you know, children have done for hundreds of years and people have done for hundreds of years, and use your freaking brain and read. Use your imagination instead of letting somebody else tell you what looks cool and what, you know, the way things are. The bigger problem with video games is kids are not comprehending what's reality and what's, you know, a video game, and then you end up getting these 14-year-old kids that snap, and it's not so much the video game's fault, but these kids are more prone to do it because there's already other, you know, factors involved, and through the video games, the desensitization of the child. Exactly. You know, these kids go out and do things. You know, kids aren't real. You know, when I was a kid, I was taught about gun safety and stuff. I talked about this on a previous show I did about gun safety and stuff. And when I was a kid, I knew where the guns in my house were. I didn't dare touch them. Okay. Because, like, I had this fear that my father, you know, fingerprinted the guns every day and knew. And I was taught respect of the guns and not to, you know, I was basically taught that they're a deadly weapon and that dead is dead. My mother and father instilled in me at a very young age that dead is dead, and that doing stupid things that lead to your death is not really, you know, helpful and conducive to anything. So you shouldn't do it, you know. And they didn't pussify me. They didn't lock me in a closet and keep me away from everything in the world because I might get scared of something. You know, they exposed me to things, but, you know, they did explain to me. You know, my mother used to say to me another thing. She used to say there's right and then there's dead right. So, like, if you come up to an intersection and you have the right of way, but somebody's, you know, comes barreling through the stop sign and plows into you, it doesn't matter if you were right. You're dead. So, you know, it's just a little tidbit from Mama Justice. It's amazing what you can learn from, you know, the older generations. Unfortunately, the next generations, and even I would say to a certain degree my generation, are not like the older ones where they're going to be able to pass down little tidbits of knowledge or wisdom because they're stupefied, they're dumbed down. I try as hard as I can to throw little tidbits of knowledge out there so people can, you know, whether they hear it on the live broadcast or on the archive, they could pick it up and run with it. You know, maybe it'll give them, maybe they'll remember it 5 or 6 years from now. Because, I mean, there are times that, you know, I'll be going through something in life, and to this day, you know, my mother's been gone 8 years, and something that she told me when I was a kid, you know, will pop into my head, and I'll think about it. So, it does have an effect. You have a kid, you know. You're a mom.
Right. I mean, you have to wonder, too, when you're raising a child as to, you know, when you do things, if that will mess your kid up, you know, or if you say things. You know, I definitely try to keep a sense of realism. I haven't sugar-coated anything. You know, with the whole radiation thing, how are you going to tell your kid they can't go out in the pool or they can't go out in the rain or why? You know, I mean, they ask questions constantly. So,
well, you should be open. You should be open with your kids. I think it's cool that the way you have a relationship with your daughter, because she's a smart little girl, and it's because her mom and her dad are doing the right thing and exposing her to the truth. Go on, Jules.
Oh, no. I don't know. For as much as my family thinks that I shouldn't be, and I should be allowing her to just have a happy childhood that's ignorant of, you know, the real situation, my thought on it is that if it does hit the fan, which I don't think is going to be 20 years from now, I mean, it'll be within the next few. I mean, we're headed that direction anyway. You know, how are you going to have a kid that goes from thinking that it's rainbows and unicorns to going to, you know, Mad Max? The kid's not going to do well. You know what I mean? But if you teach the kid to understand that there's danger and to understand that one of the most important things is to learn to listen to mom and dad, because our job is to keep you safe, you know, and we're keeping you safe because there's dangers in the world. And here's what some of them are.
That's the key right there, listening to mom and dad. You know, getting that school programming that the state is your mommy and daddy and that your parents are dumb and don't know what they're talking about. Keeping that family unit structure. And that's what I think you should do over the next couple days with, you know, and when I say you, I don't mean you, Jules. I mean, you know, the listeners. And I guess you, me, myself, whoever, you know, we should all spend take the next day or two, because we don't know what comes down the road, ladies and gentlemen. We don't know. I mean, we can take a pretty good guess of what's, you know, the kind of stuff that's coming. So let's take this time that we have, this chance that we have, and spend some quality time with our loved ones. With sons, daughters, husbands, wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, parents, whatever, brothers, sisters. We're going to break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. You know, a lot of people say, what can I do? I'm one person, right? And like I said, look at Jimmy X, you know, he did the radio network. But when I was talking about that change coming from within, you have to apply that to everything. I don't mean just sit back and, you know, run around and talk about truth and everything else. Understand what's going on, but apply that to everyday things. You know, if you're driving down the street and you see an accident happen, don't just keep driving and say, whoa, I just saw an accident. Pull over and make sure people are okay. Do you know how many times I've done that? I can't count on both my hands how many times I've stopped for accidents. Whether it's me watching somebody get hit by a car in the street, or actually watching a car, you know, showing up, literally driving up as a car is finishing rolling over and the person gets ejected out of it. You don't know what kind of difference you could make in someone's life, ladies and gentlemen. And don't do it so that you get your name in the paper or something else like that. Because I've been in, you know, in one situation where I held pressure on a young lady's wound on a leg, and I tied it off. And I knew, because I was I used to be a firefighter, that she would have bled to death before they got there had I not tied it off. And everybody at the scene was kind of freaking out. Long story short, I got out of there before they could get my name or any info, because I didn't want to be famous and get a pat on the back. I did it because it was what needed to be done at that moment. And I made a difference in that young lady's life because she's still alive today. And that's what I expect from people, and that's what needs to get done. I mean, it's not even that I expect it. I mean, I do kind of expect it. I shouldn't say that, though. But what needs to get done is that people need to change from within like that. So if you see some, you know, old lady getting mugged when you're walking down the street, you go up and you knock the scumbag that's mugging her out. You don't mince words with the guy. You go over and you knock his ass out. You help that little old lady. You know, I was sitting at a light the other day, and this little old lady, this Hasidic Jewish lady, was walking across the street, okay? And the other chick that was with her took off and left her in the middle of the street, and she was like 900 years old. Okay, and people were driving all around her, almost hitting her and stuff. And I got out of my car, okay, and as I was getting out of my car, her handler, whatever the mutant that was walking with her was, you know, came running out and grabbed her. I guess realized that she left the 900-year-old woman in the middle of the street. But naturally, I got out of my car because I wanted to help the little old woman. Okay, she could have been red with purple polka dots. It doesn't matter what color she is, what religion, what nationality, whatever. Okay, we need to start gaining our humanity back and start understanding that all this stuff that's used to divide us is done. It's done on purpose. It's done on purpose. It's to keep everybody infighting and arguing about stupid, useless shit while they continue to do what they're doing. And look what they're getting away with. Okay. Not only are they all this, police state crap, but look at the stuff. Jules, when you walk down the street, you notice nobody, I mean, and this is going on for a while. No one cares about each other anymore. No one cares if someone's, look at Black Friday. That guy had a friggin' heart attack in the middle of I think it was a Walmart or a Best Buy or whatever. People were stepping over him to get to their purchases.
Yeah, that was disgusting. I mean, I absolutely agree with you that, we're running globally on lower vibrations. People are full of angst and hate and dislike for one another. And really, in my personal experience, the last 10 months or so, that is the one thing that the conclusion that I came to is it's all about kindness. It's about opening yourself up and giving yourself selflessly to the cause, to helping something that you feel very strongly about happen. When I look at everything that's happening and I look that I have a small child, I have to do this. This is her future. And what kind of a parent would I be if I just sat idly by on the couch and let this all happen? But, in order to, I think, raise awareness, random acts of kindness really open people up to the possibility that we could all get along. There was this video I saw the other day where that's what it was about. One person kind of passes it on to the next, who then passes it on to the next. And if we all did that, if we just forgot all boundaries and we all just tried to help each other, the problems that we have right now wouldn't be occurring. I mean, we would all come together. We would have a much better government. We would, fix all of the greed and the hate and, all of the things that are really the core to what our problems are today.
It's amazing that the only thing it requires is people to realize that we are all the same.
We are one, yes.
And I'm not talking about, Popeye, you're talking about world government type stuff. No. I mean humans as a race. Let's exclude the New World Order social engineers because they exclude themselves from us on their own. Okay, they don't want to be part of this race. Okay, they think they're the next step in evolution. So let's forget about these jagoffs for a minute. Let's talk about the people. Okay, you know what I mean, Jules? Let's when we talk about us and everything like that, let's exclude them from because they're not like us.
Right.
That's a big important thing for people to realize. They are nothing like us. They don't have empathy or compassion. All right, and what little they might have goes away when they go to the cremation of care ceremony. That's technically what that ceremony is about, is getting rid of their care. We don't, this makes me feel better. It's like going, for a Catholic when you go to confession. I used to bust my Catholic friends' balls growing up. 6 days a week you raise hell, on seventh day you go and repent for it, and it's all good. And I'm not saying that to bring up religion either. I don't want to hear any arguing over religion. I'm just using it as an example. I'm not even going to go any further with it because I just don't want to hear the stupid bickering. Okay, it's such a that in itself is another thing. It's used to get people off, just like certain things in politics. Like the back of my card says, where you have the Democrat and the Republican puppet, and the shadowy figure in the background with the all-seeing eye in his forehead is saying, hey. Keep fighting, and be distracted while I retain complete control. And that's what they do with everything. They use racism and everything. And again, that's where this, we are all one thing comes from. We're all humans. If you see someone getting stabbed in the street, you go help the guy. You know what I mean? And don't just run up and club people. You have to kind of assess the situation, see what's going on. If it's a case of someone defending themselves against them being attacked, that's different. But if you see somebody getting mugged or raped or whatever, a friend of mine and I helped peel a valet off the hood of a car in South Beach when I worked there. I'm not kidding. Can't make this up. The guy the guy who was driving drove with the valet on the hood of the car. We were just actually talking about this earlier this afternoon. My wife and I were, reciting this story and how crazy it was. And my friend and I realized that this guy was, because the guy who was driving was trying to shake him off the hood, and when the guy's foot went underneath the front tire, he almost got dragged under the front of the car. And that's when my friend and I, like, this all happened within like 3 or 4 seconds. And we looked at each other and we just, without saying a word, we just turned our heads and ran out into the street. And we jumped on the guy's car and we pried the driver's side door open between the two of us. And we got the guy to stop, and then the cops came and everything. And the driver of the car went to jail, and the poor valet was, Spanish dude was white. And that, I mean, just, that's the kind of crazy stuff that I've witnessed. And I've seen other things. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, we need our humanity. I didn't know this valet, but I realized that he was going to probably get, smeared all over 14th Street in South Beach if I didn't get myself involved and try to help him at least. So if, you see a little old lady walking across the street, help her. You see whatever. Like I've said earlier, occupy your humanity. Bring it back. We're going to break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, the most important thing for you to realize is these social engineering pricks, the New World Order, Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, okay? The elitists, whatever the, whatever the moniker you want to use to label them, you have to... You have to understand something about these people. They are pushing this fear frequency, this vibration of fear, which I've explained. Love is a very high-pitched, fast-moving frequency, very excited. And fear is very low and, kind of woo frequency like that. And the universe operates on 2 basic frequencies, fear and love. Okay, and this is not some hippy-dippy crap. Quantum physics actually says the same thing. So it's amazing how even science curves into this, and it all eventually comes to the same point. Okay? So there's got to be at least some merit to it. And the research I've seen does show that there is some merit to this. So if you realize that they're pushing this fear frequency, okay, in every way, shape, or form that they can too, look at what they do with the police, Jules. They teach the cops to be afraid of everybody. So some 65-year-old grandmother who's like 5'1" and yells at some like 300-pound cop who's like 6'4". This big bully with body armor, a gun, and pepper spray and a baton is such a pussy. He has to taser the old lady because she intimidates him. Because because he feels he's not man enough because he's been pumped into his head, be afraid, be afraid, be afraid, be afraid. That's why they act like that. That's why the cops are acting the way they're acting. They're afraid of you. They're being taught that you are the enemy, you're bad, you want to kill them. So when they go out at work, they're at work thinking they're in a war zone. You know how many times I've heard police say we're at war in this country with scumbags? And I'm like, we're at war with scumbags? That's pretty general, Who sets the benchmark for what's a scumbag? You? You have your own personal judgment of what you consider to be a scumbag. I mean, that's not law. That's and again, it's because from higher up, it comes down the food chain through the command. It's that fear that is pushed, and it's the same thing you see on TV. The newscasters, be afraid, be afraid. Movies, be afraid, be afraid. They push it, even in music. Everything is about being afraid, being afraid, being afraid. So they pump that anxiety. They constantly pump that fear frequency. And people are, oh, God, I need Xanax, Jules. I can't handle it.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
And, I mean, what was it, 40% or 50% of our country's population is on some sort of antidepressant? I
agree. It's something like... I think it's even higher than that, to be honest with you. I think the numbers came out and they were even higher than 40% now, which is, even if 40% is a horrific number, and for people that a lot of times, yes, they do dump drugs into the drinking water, but a lot of the high levels of like antidepressants and stuff in the drinking water aren't from them dumping it into the water supply. It's from people urinating after they take this medication, and that medication stays inside the water system and it doesn't get filtered out even through their filtration process. Kind of makes you wonder. about their filtration process, about why they can't get that out. Reverse osmosis should clean that out. So why aren't they doing it? Why are they sending you crappy water?
Because it's intentional.
I agree.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen some pretty sick stuff with the water. Did you see about the cremation process that they were going to use, where they basically jellified the body with some sort of natural acid, and then they were just going to pump it back into the municipal water system? And what's that?
Yeah, they're gonna.
What is that?
Start like liquefying people, basically.
Bodies, yeah.
And because we're running out of room or whatever, because you can't just cremate somebody. Because cause when you're cremated, ladies and gentlemen, you fit in a sandwich bag. Usually a little bigger than a sandwich bag. It's usually like they use like a 1-quart Ziploc bag, and your entire body fits in there.
Well, in England, they just outfitted a cremation house with a turbine. And they're starting to test.
They're using people as fuel now. Isn't that awesome?
As fuel, yeah. They could fuel 100,000 televisions with one body.
That's nice. So keep watching your TVs, ladies and gentlemen. Keep watching your mind control boxes while they take Grandma and Grandpa off to the ovens. And this time they've made the ovens eco-friendly, I guess.
Uh-huh. And it makes you wonder why, all of a sudden they're releasing technologies like this. Makes me think that they're going to have a large number of bodies that they'll need to dispose of, literally.
Well, when you consider...
couldn't bury that many.
When you consider what they say, they call the Great Culling.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't surprise me. And that's not being paranoid. That's not being fear-mongering or anything. I mean, look, you have to look at the evidence, and you can't look at the evidence and say that they're not planning something. Even if they might, I'm not saying I want them to get away with it, but they are at least in the planning stages of something. What we let them get away with is up to us. What did Jefferson say? I think it was Jefferson, or maybe it was Franklin. You'll have the exact amount of tyranny that you're willing to live with. I think it was Jefferson that said that, and I'm paraphrasing, but something like, you'll live under the amount of tyranny that you're willing to tolerate, basically. So, when people say what's the level of tyranny that we're going to get to, the question is, well, whatever you're willing to tolerate, whatever you're willing to put up with. I don't think the founding fathers really thought that Americans would be this apathetic. I really think that they thought that people would stand up a long time ago. And that should show you the level of mind control and control of the media. That these elitists, whatever the hell you want to call them. Let's just call them the jerk-offs. How about that? So,
that works.
Yeah, it's a very descriptive term. People will know who I'm talking about. So, the jerk-offs. It's a very New Jersey term. Going back to my New Jersey roots tonight. And, these idiots, people need to know who they are. But, I mean, let's not fear them, ladies and gentlemen. Let's not give them what they want, that fear frequency. I'm not saying run out there and give them hugs and kisses. But let's do the opposite. Let's show love. They're trying to take away their humanity and your compassion. They don't want you, if you're walking down the street, to see somebody in the street and help them out. Do it. I've said time and time again, I was a firefighter. I was volunteer. I never got paid. 6 years. You're on duty 24/7. You have a pager on your hip that goes off whenever there's a fire or call, accident, whatever. We need to get back to that foundation of people giving back to this country just because. That would, first of all, negate the need for a lot of these paid bureaucratic positions that are just a waste of government money. Okay? Complete waste of government money. Non-producing jobs. Jobs that are there just to be bureaucratic and create a nightmare and create havoc and problems for the average everyday Joe trying to do something. Okay, we can eliminate half of these crappy things. People need to start giving back to their community, giving back to one another.
Popeye, it's really about, if you look at those people that are sitting in those high-paid bureaucratic jobs, they're all self-important. They're people that don't really care about the old lady that lives down at the end of the street. And if we just started caring again, we really wouldn't need the social net that has been formed and ensnared a good part of this country. You know, if you went down the street every day and checked on the 90-year-old woman just to make sure she was okay, maybe she wouldn't have to have, you know, social services come or whatever. But by taking back our own communities and taking back humanity and caring for, you know, our friends and family and neighbors, we become self-sufficient. I mean, the day that it hits the fan, there isn't going to be anyone to take care of us. So we should start practicing now.
I agree. Start taking care of yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Stop expecting somebody else to wipe your ass for you. You need to grow up and take responsibility for things, and that in itself will change a lot. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to break. We're back with the final segment.
President John F. Kennedy.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. Dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, Without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news, as well as improved transmission. And it means, finally, that government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
I love that speech. It's my Christmas gift to you, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to play that for you one more time before we go to Christmas 2011. If there's one thing you take away from today's show, it's that I want you to go out and literally, if you're going to say that you want to change things, then, and I know that I hate to, rip this off from Gandhi or We Are Change, but be the change that you want to see in the world, okay? And it starts with helping little old ladies across the street or whatever. Be nice to your fellow human. Go out and practice random acts of kindness this weekend. That's what I ask you to do. You want to donate something? You want to help out in some way, shape, or form? You don't know what to do? Go out and do random acts of kindness this weekend. That's what you do. You want to change things? Start to spread love instead of fear and hate. Let's turn this back. Let's reverse course. Let's take this thing out of fifth gear, drop it back into neutral, apply the brakes nice and slow, keep a nice controlled deceleration, and then we come to a complete stop, throw it in reverse and go the other way. What say you, Jules? What do you think?
Love is healthy for you. I mean, stress and the stress hormone makes you sick and shuts down your immune system. And, I mean, with everything that's going on now, we need to have strong, healthy immune systems. And we need to be happy. We need to combat all of this. I mean, it's pure evil. What is happening right now is pure evil. I mean, we don't know this weekend. Who knows? Obama could, auto pen his NDAA. Well, he's, living it up in Hawaii on vacation. We don't know what's going to come tomorrow. So if we are kind, we love, we enjoy life today, and while we're doing that, we spread the message of truth, the message of love. It's all about working together to wake people up, I mean, it doesn't have to be as difficult as we think it is when we look at all of the different things that could happen. I think it could be something very simple, making someone smile every single day. Simple things can change people's lives and make them wake up. So when you were mentioning earlier today about trying to wake up friends and family and how difficult that is, maybe it's the message that we're preaching. Start really simple. Make them feel good. And then from feeling good, maybe they will get to see things more clearly instead of always being afraid and hiding in a corner. I don't know.
I agree. That's that's what I want people to take away from tonight's broadcast. You guys need to be inspired and practice random acts of kindness. That's how we're going to change. That's one of the ways we're going to win, is taking back our humanity. That's how they're doing this. Because people go, what am I going to do? You know, I really don't give a shit. It's not me. It doesn't affect me. Blah, 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 blah. They've lost their humanity. They've lost their way. And it's time to find our way back. Find our souls again and realize we're all on the same team. I don't care what color, religion, whatever, what nationality. We're all the same on the inside. We bleed the same way. On the outside, we might look different, but we all operate the same way. We all bleed the same color blood. We all have the same organs. You know, it's like cars all look differently, right? Well, you know, yes, there's rotary engines and stuff, but the basic premise of a car is pretty much the same. They might look all different on the outside, but on the inside, they're pretty much all the same. They have seats, a steering wheel, you know, ignition, transmission. We're the same thing. We're all humans. Why are we wasting our time blowing each other up? And don't get me wrong. If someone comes to your house, I'm all about defending yourself. I'm not saying, you know, sit there and pray and go, I love you. You whoop homie's ass if you have to. Point is, let's try to get beyond that, where we don't, you know what I mean? Let's try to get to the next level. I don't think the end of the world is coming next year either, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to leave this on a positive note. I think it's going to be the end of an age of fear. And it's the tipping point that these douchebags are afraid of. So let's get ready for it. Get your humanity back. Build up love. Practice random acts of kindness this weekend.
This is Sparta!
Go out there, give some love, show love. Remember why you fight. Jules, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Pepe. It's awesome.
Oh, it was. As always, when I hang out with you, it's awesome, Jules. Ladies and gentlemen, Merry Christmas. I'll see you again before the new year, I promise. We'll see you Monday for WTF. Sunday, special pre-recorded show with me and Joe Joseph and some more. I'm out.